Hi, this is Samuel. Now we are going to see about the exercise number one of the lab DevOps. And this lab is about the Git essentials, the basic commit, push, merge, and pull requests. And the objective of this lab is to demonstrate pushing changes to a Git repository, covering setup, managing visibility, and executing basic Git operations. So, Git is basically a version control system, and GitHub is something where many repositories are stored. And the code editor we used here is the VS Code, and you can use anything like Sublime or Notepad++. And the command line interface is terminal and Git bash. And the description is the aim of the experiment is to demonstrate the process of pushing changes to a GitHub repository. This involves setting up Git and managing repository visibility and changing repository visibility, and then pushing changes to the repository. Now let's see the commands involved in this exercise. Basically, these are the commands. The first command is git init, which initializes a new git repository in the current directory. And second one is the git add. This stages all files for the next commit. And this is commit git commit -m message, which generally commits the stages changed with the message. And the third one is git remote add origin and the repository link of our repository, and this links the local repository to the remote GitHub repository. And this is the git remote -v, which displays the remote connections. And this is git push -u origin main, which pushes committed changes to the main branch of the remote repo. And this is git pull origin main, which fetches and merges changes from the remote repository into a local. And I will now show the output of this, how it is created. And this is how it works: pushing changes to the repository, and you can see the output clearly. This is how this experiment works, and here we are giving a pull request, and finally we are merging, and this is how the outcome is displayed in GitHub, and this is how the final output will be. Yeah, now let's pass on to the second exercise, which is docker containers and images. Here the objective of this experiment is to verify Docker installations, create a custom Docker image using Nginx, and run a container to serve the web page. And the tools and software required are Docker, and the next one is command line and the code editor of your choice, and a web browser to visualize the output. And the description is Docker is an open source platform, as we know, that enables containerization, a method of packaging applications along with all their dependencies into lightweight portable containers. Unlike virtual machines, containers share the host operating system kernel, making them faster, more efficient, and less resource intensive. And this is how the Docker works. And the image and container concept, a Docker is a read-only template that contains the application code, runtime libraries, and configuration files. A Docker container is a running instance of an image that provides an isolated execution, which means execution environment, and this is the portability, which is Docker containers. And the portability of this containers ensures the application runs the same way in any environment. It is basically development, testing, or protections. And here is, these are the commands involved in the Docker image creation, which is the first one is Docker version, which checks install Docker version, and the second is Docker run hello world, which just runs a test container to verify Docker setup. And this is mkdir Docker demo, which creates a new folder for the project. And the next one is Docker build -t myweb v1, which builds a Docker image and named myweb with tag v1. And the final is Docker run -t, then space -t 80 myweb v1, which is basically runs container in detached mode. And the final output will be in this way, and you can also visualize. This is the web application I made. So this is the outcome of this lab, and this is the next experiment. Here this experiment is about Flask app containerization and Docker Hub deployment. Here the objective is to create a Flask web application, containerize it using Docker and deploy it to Docker. And the softwares used here are Python 3x, which is for running Flask applications, and Flask framework, then Docker Hub account, and a code editor, which is basically VS Code, Sublime, or Python of your choice. And the final one is web browser. And the thing is, these are the commands to execute this experiment, which is pip install my iPhone or requirements.txt, which installs Flask dependencies. And the next one is building Docker image. Docker build minus t Flask minus Docker minus app, which builds a Docker image named Flask Docker app from the Docker file. And the final code is Docker run minus p 5000 colon 5000 Flask Docker app, which runs the Docker container and maps host port 5000 to container port 5000. And if we run all this will be output of this experiment. uh, After running, you can see here the IP is the link for this app is given here. And finally, this is the building example, and finally you can see the output like this. Thank you.